Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.co's sort of walkthrough tutorial series on new people getting started on the site and where we want to begin our sort of adventure in trading. You've just joined the site, and of course, you've been told to pop on over to the library and get familiar with all these documents. And right now we should be, I'm new, what should I do? Right here, and you just clicked, I'm new to trading, where should I begin? You've already watched the video, I'm new to the site, where should I begin? So hopefully you're nice and familiar with the various different resources that we have on the site. Really, I think the best thing for new people to trading to do is pop on over to this page, and if you really want a nice candid view of what a trader's life is, and what's sort of what I would consider the evolutionary process of all traders, I think you should start with TRI's publications and the articles. These two articles that I've written over the past few years pretty much describe exactly what a trader's life is all about. So not a bad idea for you to get yourself familiar with those two documents. And the evolutionary process of all traders, it will give you sort of a step-by-step guide of what your evolutionary process should be as you go from not knowing anything to getting up and running. Ideally, of course, we run this school program, and everything that you see here I've laid out for you, but in the school program you can see that we actually have 3 full programs to teach you everything about the market that I know over the past my 25-year experience. So I'm not going to recommend that you actually go the route of teaching yourself, but I know a lot of new people to the site. Come on, say, Brian, I want to get going. Where should I start? I'm waiting for the school to start. I don't start the term until like next term or 6 months from now. What should I do in the interim? Other people come to the site and are like, Brian, I already have some experience in trading. I just want to sort of fine tune my trading. Is there any place you have resources where I can check all that out? So I've actually recently just added these TRI publications, this section to the library, where, as I said, you can go through and read sort of what path I expect all new people to follow. And by all means, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Daily brief interactions. You can PM me on the site. You can book one-on-one tutorials with me. We can address each of these points and questions that you have in various different ways. As well, I've included the basic course textbook that I wrote, which is about 70, 80 pages, somewhere in there. And this was supposed to be a in-person course taught to the continuing education program of the Canadian Chartered Accountants Society, blah, 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 whatever. That's not really relevant. What's more relevant here is that this is basically the course textbook that I use teaching the Level 1 program. So if you want a jump start and you want to know exactly what students are going to be reading and all the topics that they're going to be talking about, and I'll make reference in daily briefs and stuff to some of the concepts, especially when we talk about things like demographics and stuff. If you want, you can basically pre-read the entire course text right here. Really what we want to do, and that's the whole purpose of the Level 1 program, is we want you to actually leave the program with all of these basic tools understood. Understood that, and we've included samples in here. So if you want to just go and replicate the samples to get going and working on your own, perfectly fine. But we've included a basic trading plan. And every trader, if you're worth your weight in value, whatever, as a trader, you trade with a trading plan. So your number one objective right off the bat is to define who you are where you're going, why you're doing it, and how you're going to do it. And really, again, referring back to our articles, we only actually know how good of a trader we are by how closely we follow our trading plan. This happens to be a very simple trading plan built for OKCoin. Obviously, you're more than welcome to go and copy this. You can make a copy of your own. Please don't edit this. This is a template for the site. But in essence, this is everything that I do on OKCoin on a daily basis, including all the money that I have there. What time of days, have I thought about commissions, why am I doing this? And then you'll notice we have one little line here called setups. And setups are all about the sort of reasons you're going to act in the marketplace. And these need to be fixed, right? As you go through the process, the evolutionary process of every trader, you understand the necessity for these setups to be fixed. So these just so happen to be some example setups that I'm running on this particular plan. But hopefully what you see is, number one, this is nice and clean. It's simple. It's just one page. I can review it at my leisure very quickly, and it details exactly what I should be doing in the market. And then hunting actual trades, every single reason for the trade, and there should be at least 3 independent reasons on any setup, is outlined specifically, and it's literally just a step-by-step process. Can I follow what I said I was going to do? The clearer, the easier, the more concise, the more articulate you make this, the better you're going to be. The easier your trading life is going to be. Along with the trading plan, we've included tools. Again, please copy this. Don't save it, but things that I think are absolutely necessary for all traders to succeed. You need to build a trading journal, and you need to have this and use this journal as your vent. There's got to be a way for you to release your emotions. It's interesting, in this site, couple of students were posting some video interviews with Dr. Andrew Menaker. And I highly suggest all new people to trading, if I can find it here. Maybe I don't have it on this page. I thought I did. Third-party instructional videos. Maybe it's over here. Yeah, here we are. Here we are, Dr. Andrew Menaker. I would highly, highly suggest, all new people watch this video. Ironically enough, this is the kind of stuff that's more important than any squiggly lines, any sort of fancy trading systems anybody will ever teach you. This is all about trading psychology and setting us up for success. So the point here is, as you're going through sort of, okay, I got to set myself up for success, I think it's a good idea. Everybody work on their trading plan. You can always, PM me as you're working away on your plan. Hey, Brian, how does this look? Book one-on-one tutorials, all those kind of fun things. You're also going to build your trading journal. And, when you come on the site and you come into the daily briefs, I ask everybody, do you have your trading journals out? Did I learn anything today? Those kind of things. It's exactly where this should go. And most importantly, this needs to be a repository for how you're feeling. Oh, that Brian guy gave me a horrible pick and I feel like crap. Well, maybe it's time that I learn how to do this on my own. I don't know. There is no right or wrong journal entries. It is purely how you feel. And you need to have a place to express how you feel. You got to get it out, and don't let it be expressed through your trading, or else, you'll start racking up big losses as frustration is expressed in really poor trade decision process. As well, in here I've included a sample trade spreadsheet. And, as you go through the evolutionary process of the trader and releasing the beast within, you'll understand the necessity of how important it is to track everything you do in the marketplace religiously. I would recommend this. Also helps us learn, quote unquote, the process of understanding how trades actually develop. And this, the good part about logging trades is you don't even have to risk any money. You can go and hunt the setup and log it and everything, all the levels, where I enter, where my stop is, where my target is. Note, grab a screenshot of the actual chart and track it. And literally going through this whole process, you will own this trade, regardless of whether you spend any money on it or not. And I would actually recommend, getting back to the evolutionary process of all traders, that you actually go through this process and book 20 trades using a setup that maybe you're interested in, but your subconscious hasn't totally believed. And really, the whole purpose of this is twofold. Number one, to see whether you can actually do what you say you're going to do, i.e., are you making mistakes? And then number two, to actually convince your subconscious through hard numbers of the validity of the setup. So two huge takeaways from logging on a spreadsheet format like this: every single thing you do in the marketplace. From now on, this is your life as a trader. Again, more than happy, these just happen to be demonstrations. There's a number of different logs that we have here. One setup, I wanted to do a demonstration this term. Kind of stalled because I just got overwhelmed with the school, but good example of just vetting out setups. As well, we have various different little templates. This is one that's just all ready to go that you can copy. So the point here is that I don't really care what this looks like. All I care is that you are tracking everything that you're doing in the marketplace. Everything. So we've come along and we've started working on our trading plan, right? And you can go back into the course material. If you need help with working on the trading plan, you can read through the course material. And of course, the whole purpose of the school is the school just simply walks you week by week, step by step through the whole process of building out trading plans and understanding how markets work. We've now gone through and we've reviewed the trading journal, we've reviewed the trading plan, we've reviewed the trading spreadsheet. I use a lot of funny language on this site. The guys on the floor of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange used to have a little dictionary running around called Beamish-isms. And they used to actually, what the hell did he just say? So we've created this little document here, and I'm sure it's going to get filled out over time with just a few expressions, sayings that we use. By all means, site members, if you can think of any expressions that we use and you want to add to it, by all means, go right ahead. I've created it as an open document, but the long and short of it here is, if you do hear any funny expressions, probably best place to check is here. And then, if you're still stumped, you can always PM me, and maybe I'll just add it, after our conversation. Okay, so you're sort of now at this point where you're set up, you kind of have an idea of where it is you have to go with this whole trading experience in the articles, and I might move the articles up top here. You're working your way through reading how to actually be a responsible, rational investor in the marketplace. You're building out all the tools and sort of setting yourself up for success. At this point, I think it's a good idea to go in and start watching some of these. Especially in the course, if you're working your way through the course material and you're running into all the various different types of assets there are out there, and you're not quite sure how some of these markets work, this is a good little handy little resource where basically we go through how bonds work, market state, ranging versus trending, how the economy works. A really cool little sort of, self-taught, step-by-step video series here. Once you're sort of through the big picture, trying to figure out how the economy works, you have a pretty good idea of what kind of planning you should be thinking about. We have very simple in the images, lots of sort of, support documents here. You see a model financial plan.
coming out of the level 1 course and that introduction to capital markets, really I would love to see all students at the very least, have this kind of idea for their portfolios. Where, you know, you're going to take your age, subtract it from 100. That should be your maximum risk exposure. And then in those risk assets, you're going to sprinkle them amongst the commodity sector, amongst the equities, real estate investments to a certain degree. Anything else that doesn't fall into that equation should go into conservative, safe assets. With your risk assets, you can break those into various different strategies and trading plans. And really what should happen here is, you know, for this person individually, just even within their commodity exposure, whether it be crypto or whether it be gold or oil or whatever, they might actually have 2 or 3 different trading plans depending on the amount of risk that they want to employ on any individual plan. Okay, so you know, at this point, hopefully you're starting to feel like, okay, I've got some direction here. Brian's giving me a whole bunch of work to do. Once you sort of get to the point where you've gone through, and you know, you can spend hours and hours and hours just watching all of the different video tutorials. As I said, these third-party instructional videos, some of them are just absolutely invaluable, like Dr. Andrew Menaker's video here. Some of these are more sort of just, you know, basic educational. You might find them a little bit boring. But nonetheless, it's not bad if you're like, okay, I'm looking for stuff to do. I want to learn more. I want to learn more. You know, make sure that you've watched all of these videos. As well, if you're kind of bored, you know, you can always go back and watch previous Coinigy shows too. That resource is there for you. As you're working through the introduction to capital markets, you can always go down and at the same time as you're working through the documents, just follow the course slideshows that are used in the actual course material. So just familiarize yourself with what would basically happen in the course. And we have all of these slideshows all just sitting here for your reference. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, right? The squeaky wheel gets the grease. I think once you're at that point, you've got a trading plan set up. You've read through the introduction to capital markets. You understand the evolutionary process. You understand this idea that you are learning a process, the 3-step process. You're at the point where you're like, okay, you know, I've got everything set up. I'm just looking for the reasons to take the trade, right? I've got all of this plan set up. I know where I'm going. I know how much money I'm working with. The question ultimately is, what are my reasons for acting in the marketplace, or what we call setups? On the library page, if we go over to this tab here, setups, we have a listing of all the various different setups that we've basically been building with students over the past couple of years. And there isn't any particular name to any of these setups. Just as students and I work together and as we come up with funny names for setups, we give them the names. So there isn't anything in particular about them. But what the most important part about this is every single setup that you see here has 3 independent reasons for considering taking a trade, at least, and they're replicatable. You do the same thing day in, day out, look for those same criteria. When they show themselves, your edge, boom, you take the trade. So, you know, if you're at the point where, you know, Brian, I've gotten through all of this, I've started working on the course material, I've got my trading plan going, I'm journaling about my feelings, I'm building out my spreadsheet, maybe for the first month that you're here, entirely paper trading. Through that time period, I want you to slowly go through, and some of these, like this is a video on what is a setup. Not a bad idea for you just to sit and watch how setups are built. As well, we have some videos here. This is one setup that I traded when I was a proprietary crude oil trader called the Bot. And it basically got me in and out of markets on a regular basis in the crude oil day trading world. But there's a ton of different setups, a ton of different ways for you to trade the market. I would argue probably the easiest, simplest setup for most new people to trading to try and teach themselves is what we call the Hollywood Nick. It's a really simple setup in that you're just going to look for a market that's fallen appreciably. And when you put on your little fib tool and you do the 50% level, you see that where we are now back to the 50% level, which is a very natural place for prices to retrace. It represents a fairly big distance. In other words, if we look to buy down in here and we get a move back to the 50% level, this is our potential profit margin. At the same time that you see markets that have dumped like this, go down and use very simple momentum indicators. In this case, we just have a MACD histogram. And hopefully you'll notice as the market's making lower lows here, the MACD histogram is not making lower lows. This is what we call divergence. This is a price momentum divergence. So once you see the divergence confirmed, and that's when the W in the MACD actually fires, which is right here. And of course, we already know that the market has fallen an awful long way. Then we can start going and hunting for structure. And for technicians, W's are a trader's best friend. I like to wait for the divergence to confirm, so then that way we're actually getting a message from the market that the market is stronger than what price would actually lead you to believe. So after the divergence comes in and we know that there's a long way to go back to the profit level, I'm just going to simply patiently wait for a nice W. And hopefully everybody can see price came down, it rallied back up, it came back down and tested these lows and then turned back up through the middle part of the W. Same thing as we saw on the MACD histogram indicator. You notice the MACD went down, up, back down, tested the lows, did not break the lows, and turned back up through the middle part. The divergence is confirmed on this event right here. The market structure, the W, was confirmed in price when price went through this level. So at this point now we have a relatively respectable target. You can see where the target is right there. We have a confirmed bullish divergence suggesting that price is actually stronger than what price leads you to believe. And we have a nice W to frame the risk on our trade. We're simply going to go buy the breakout of the W, and our target is going to be the 50% level. Hopefully that's nice and simple for you. What you see is that if we bought the W, and in this case, if we actually risked against this low, and we waited for the 50% level, the risk-reward ratio, and this is the most important thing about your learning, is greater than 2 to 1. We want to focus on trades where if we're right, we get paid at least twice what we get if we lose if we're wrong. That's the way that you make money in the long-term trading. Don't get into the habit of booking trades that are less than 1-to-1 risk-reward, because every once in a while one of these trades is not going to work and you're going to have to book that full 100% loss. So you got to make sure that you're winners. When you're right, you get paid. That's the key to this. If that didn't make sense to you, maybe stop the video, rewind it, and listen to that statement 2 or 3 times. It's that important, people. You notice on our trade spreadsheet, every single risk reward is greater than 2 to 1. Some of them are 3 to 1. Some of them are like 5.8 to 1. But the key here you see is none of them are less than 1 to 1. Okay, I think on balance, that's not a bad walkthrough. If we get to the point where we're talking setups, then I think that you're pretty much ready to go here. And as I had said before, I think it's actually really important for you to convince your subconscious of the validity of this before you risk any of your hard-earned money. So my suggestion to everyone, and this is basically getting back to the evolutionary process of all traders, is I don't want you spending any money while you're going through this process. You're all babies right now. And especially if you're watching this video, you're like, I haven't got a fucking clue what the hell I'm doing. So the point here is, as we evolve as babies, we are learning to use this money muscle. And I would recommend to first determine whether you understand setups and you understand the importance of accuracy and record keeping and tracking, and also understanding your own personal behavior and actually seeing whether you can follow a plan, because there's a lot of new people to trading that find out that, oh, wow, this is actually a little harder than I thought. Actually managing my behavior, managing myself, making sure I don't make mistakes. I would actually recommend your first 20 trades, right, should actually be paper trades. Should be all logged on that spreadsheet, and you don't spend any money at all because you're here to learn the process. Once you get through that first 20 trades and you get into the rhythm of how professionals actually act in the marketplace, then I'd recommend your second lot of 20 trades be 1/10 the size of the money that you want to work with. So, you know, if you come to the market with 10 grand, you're going to first do 20 paper trades, not risking any money at all, just learning the process. The second 20 paper trades, you're going to work with $1,000 of that $10,000. Keep the other 9,000 in the bank. Get to the point where you're actually seeing positive returns on that 1/10 portfolio. Book 20 trades. I understand the process. I'm working with real money now. I can actually see the dollars and cents moving up and down. I'm not freaking out. I'm journaling where my emotions are. My trading itself is not reflecting any emotional behavior. It's just purely factual. I'm trading setups. I'm ready to rock and roll. I think after you've booked a good 40 trades, you are now ready to join the big leagues. This might take, you know, for some of our level oneers who are very, very fast, it might take a month or two to go through this process. For some people, this might take 6 months. This might take a year to go through. Please understand, there is no stopwatch here. There is no competition. There is no race. We are all working on our own journals, or our own journeys, and your journals too, I hope. Everybody is different. No two traders are exactly the same. No two trading plans will look exactly the same. So don't look at other people on the site or on Twitter or whatever and compare yourself with them, because that's not really being fair to yourself. The only person that you have to judge yourself against is you. And ask yourself constantly, right? Because unfortunately, most people fail at this game because they just simply can't control themselves. They can't do what they said they were going to do. And so I would argue, if you're going to have a battle with anybody, it's going to be with you and the little person inside your head. That's how we measure whether we're actually a half decent trader or not. Okay, I think I'll leave the video at that. That should give you guys a whole bunch of fun candy to chew on, and hopefully give some direction for new people to the site. Where should I go? I want to learn, but I'm, you know, a bit overwhelmed right now. Love to hear some feedback from the community and the group as to whether this video is of any value and benefit for you. And you know, we're always striving to try and make the site better, so by all means, you know, any suggestions, I'm always open ears. So have yourselves a great afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, everybody. All the best, and bye for now.